There is institutional racism in the police.
Detain you for 23 as well.
I am black. My life matters.
For half a century, the relationship between ethnic minorities and the police has been a source of concern. When the country's biggest police force was first declared institutionally racist in 1999,
No justice! No peace!
the recruitment of black and Asian officers was championed as a solution. Today, the chair of Britain's National Black Police Association says not only are the expertise of black and Asian officers being sidelined, he warns that policing is being politicised by culture wars. And now the laws introduced to protect minorities are in danger of being disproportionately used to prosecute them for interracial disputes.
Well, a lot of it is, if policing is accused of being institutionally racist by communities of colour, then the big pushback is, well, it's your communities that are giving most police officers the racism. I think there's this disconnect between what our experiences are, how we experience racism, and how policing understands racism. And I think it's almost used as a public relations piece, pushback against communities and against the notion that policing has a race problem.
This year has seen high-profile cases of ethnic minorities investigated or prosecuted over their language when discussing race or criticising politicians. This is Cojos, a successful executive who would only discuss his case anonymously. He responded to a Conservative candidate's critical tweet of Marcus Rashford. A friend tweeted the politician with this emoji and expletives. In response, Cojos posted, "I just clocked. This is a black man who tweeted that, Lord above, with black in speech marks." When his friend said the politician was tap dancing for Massa, Cojos replied with a Daffy Duck gif like this.
And almost a year to the day of that exchange online, I was then contacted by the police. I was then interviewed twice by the police under caution.
The implication of the conversation and the gif is that that man was performing online for white people.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see why that would be offensive and to him a racist remark?
I can see where it would be offensive, but where he perceives it as racist, I find it hard to grasp and conceptualize. For me, it was a political critique of his viewpoint. To have been in that situation from the result of a GIF, and a GIF that, for me, I have seen widely used, my mind is blown at that someone can feel so triggered that they want to effectively ruin somebody else's life.
The politician Ben Obish-Jekti, who reported Cojos, has made a string of police referrals, but has so far declined to comment. Why does there seem to be a rise in prosecutions, charges, investigations of minorities criticising other minorities?
I think the increase is probably due to the external environment and the kind of polarised communities that we see ourselves in at the minute. I think policing needs to make sure that we don't get caught up in anything like a culture war. We make sure that we stay impartial.
Few events have been more polarising than the war on Gaza, with millions taking to the streets in protests that have been heavily policed due to concern over slogans and chants. Last year, teacher Mariha Hussein lost her job after she was pictured at the protest holding a placard depicting Rishi Sunak and Suella Braverman at the bottom of a coconut tree. She is now the subject of a police investigation into whether she committed a hate crime. But do you now accept that some people today would find the placard to be offensive?
I think that although some language and statements may be pejorative, it doesn't make it racist. Coconuts. Brown on the outside, white supremacist values on the inside.
But Rishi Sunak and Suella Braverman would be offended by that. They would say that they are not white supremacists and they do not share any values whatsoever with those kinds of people. There are some experts who might say they find the placard to be, racially inappropriate, even racist.
Some of the things that Suella Braverman at the time, the Home Secretary at the time, was saying was so inflammatory, and it was racist. I remember so clearly was when she said that grooming gangs were predominantly Pakistani men, being of Pakistani origin, and having a Pakistani doctor as a father. This is a government that what we're growing up in, my children are growing up in, extremely inflammatory. The reason I was there at that protest in the first place, their complicity in a genocide taking place in Palestine, all of it, the Rwanda policy, these are policies, rhetorics that are racist. Coconuts is a political critique. It's about actions, not about race.
I think, again, a lot of it's around context, but I don't think the word coconut in itself is, it should be seen in the same way as the N-word or other highly offensive racial language.
Few face more racial slurs than racial minorities in politics. This year, comments emerged by the Conservative Party's biggest donor, Frank Hester, about Diane Abbott. He said the MP made him hate all black women and that he felt she should be shot. Yet government ministers said the episode should be forgiven as focus shifts to the abuse of politicians by their own community.
What's interesting being a black politician is that you get it from both ends. You're either not black enough or you're too black. And that leads to comments such as coconut, bounty. On a personal level, if you've been attacked so much, you have to say, look, enough's enough.
Isn't there an element of hypocrisy because your peers did not report Frank Hester to the police for the comments that he said about Diane Abbott that were condemned as racist, yet they are reporting other ethnic minorities to the authorities?
Is it, hypocritical that I haven't reported people from the black community? And I would say no, because that's a decision for me, a very personal decision, and I understand the pressures that might cause in my community.
In the absence of consensus, there is political tribalism, and with it, a loss of confidence. As those representing the National Black Police Association enforcing the law believe hate speech is becoming too politicized to police.